Hi, FUNTO. Thank you for being here. Okay, so we will just, without wasting any more time, we'll go right into it. We have our guest here, Miss FUNTO BOROFFICE. She's a trailblazer in the waste collection and recycling industry. And she's dedicated to transforming waste into value, jobs through her award-winning social enterprise, Chanja Dati. I know that Chanja Dati in Hausa means to clean dirt, right? I'm not sure what she'll correct me when she comes on. So a few things about her. Professionally, she's achieved a lot. Besides being the founder and CEO of Chanja Dati Limited, she's also worked within the government. She's been the senior aide to Nigeria's Honorable Minister of Power for about 3 years, specializing in investment, finance, and donor relations. She has over 17 years of global financial strategy and project improvement experience, and so much more. She spent 12 years as an executive in the US, reaching the position of vice president in the largest GA Capital Americas business. There's so much to learn and to know about FUNTO and her work, and we will drop her LinkedIn profile on the chat. It's there already. So if you want to know so much more about our guest this evening, please click on the link. You will get to learn more. But if you can join me with a resounding clap, let us welcome our guest, FUNTO BOROFFICE, to this amazing webinar. Thank you so much for being here. I don't see us clapping. Are we clapping? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well done, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mariam, for having me. It's always a pleasure to be able to sort of share my small wisdom that I've gained over the last decade in this sector with anybody who has ears to listen and wants to learn. So thank you for the opportunity and for the platform. And I pray and I believe that this platform will continue to grow from strength to strength. This is just the beginning. So well done for sort of bringing people together and sharing knowledge. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you so much for your kind words. I mean, yeah, that's truly the aim. Being in this space with me, you know that a lot of people have come and they've been discouraged along the way. And so we decided to come up with an opportunity, a platform where we can just share a few things that hopefully will help people navigate better through this space. But interestingly, today, our conversation doesn't focus only on secular businesses, for example, or recycling, as the 2 previous sessions did. Everyone who is a business owner, an SME, or even, at the growth phase of the business, definitely will benefit from this webinar today. We know how difficult entrepreneurship can get sometimes anywhere in the world that you're in, especially in this part of the world that we're in, and how crucial funding is to building a business. Everyone can, use some extra funding at any stage of their business, whether they're testing the viability of the product or they're launching into a new market, right? Funding, especially equity-free funding, is so critical. I mean, if we look at some of the opportunities that have been there recently, the 100+ Accelerator, which was set up in 2018 to exponentially fuel the growth of startups, developing critical sustainability solutions, give up to 100K USD, right? The Afri-Plastics Challenge that we both participated in up until the final stage, where you became the first runner-up, gave out £1 million in grant funding to, the first position, and several other prices along the way. And there are several opportunities like this, many more like this. So just to start off, I would like to ask you, how do people even begin to access these opportunities? Where do they even find the information from? So let's start off from there. Thank you. Take it away.
Thank you, Mariam. So I think the first place, I always tell everybody that cares to listen that Google is your friend, right? You can, even something as simple as going to Google Alerts and putting some keywords and how often you want to receive information can be the place where you get all your information. So for example, under Google Alerts, I've gone in there and I said, okay, for startups, grants, SMEs in Nigeria, funding, and I think it's every week I get a synopsis of all the grants out there. That's one way. Another way is there are a lot of platforms online, and I'm sure some of you may know it, like Opportunity Desk? Different examples of places where you can go and source for funds. This is, if someone wins a grant that I see in my sector, right, I'm very happy for them, but I'm like, I'll go and research the grants and say, is this grant, is it a yearly, is it a one-time thing, or is it an ongoing thing? If it's an ongoing thing, I make a note and I say, okay, this time next year, I will look and see whether or not, again, that grant comes around. I will go to the website of that grantor and register for or subscribe for their newsletter. I think one of my main my strategy lead is here, Gabriel Odoka. We have a tracker where we put a list. I think we have over 50 lists of grants that we've either applied for or want to apply for. And I'll be very honest with everybody. We don't get into everything. It's not everything that we get in. It's not everything we've applied for that we actually get grants for. But some of them will give you feedback and say, you know what, great presentation, great application. It was just that something. But why don't you try again next year? And for those, when we get those kind of information, I'm sure to put it down and say, we're going to apply again next year. So again, those are just 5 quick, easy ways that I think, if everybody just made a note, you can really get links for where you can, get lists of grants. The biggest one, like I said, that for me, I've seen work is really Funds for NGOs, Opportunity Desk, Google Alerts. And then if other people in the space, right, have gotten grants, I make a note of those organizations, go to their website, subscribe for their newsletter, and, make sure that by the time the next iteration comes around, that we're ready to apply.
Awesome. So these are little tricks, right, that we can just, hold on to. I love the idea of having a tracker, because a lot of times, if you're not careful, you see the opportunities, you procrastinate, and then somehow the time just passes by and you never get to take advantage. But before you share what has worked, for Chanja Dati, you've told us clearly where people can get information from, right? Before you share with us what has worked in the past decade, there's this general perception that, the same people get grants, right, continuously. And it will seem like people who are just coming into the space never get noticed. What do you think the people who are continuously raking in these grants, what are they doing right? And what are the others not doing right? Please permit me, I'll have to turn off my video so that it doesn't distort the network. Thank you.
Sure. So I hear the same sort of complaints or chorus a lot of time. And here's what I always tell people. I had the opportunity, I was in Kano, I think it was like maybe a month plus ago, and I was talking to some local aggregators, and one of them said, it's only this people that, know all this people in all this. So I started asking him questions. I said, okay, do you have audited financial statements? No. Do you have a registered business? No. Do you have your tax clearance certificate? No. I said, so again, the reason why you feel like it's the same players that are getting all those grants a lot of times is because usually funders want to make sure that they're dealing with somebody that is, or a company that is already registered, that has process and structure in place. And you will see that for anybody who has ever applied for grants or, for funding of any kind of sort, right? There are some questions that are basic information, right? They'll ask you for your CAC documents. They'll ask you for a whole slew of information. I promise you that if you don't have any of those things, right, you may not be able to move forward with the grant, with going forward with the grants. Another thing that is very crucial that a lot of people don't have is how do you tell your story, right? So when you're applying for grants, right, you need to be able to, number one, ensure that you are aligned with what the grantor is looking for. So, for example, if a grantor is looking to sponsor or support or provide grants for recycling, and you are the one apply and they don't pick you, you cannot come now and say, oh, they did not give you the grant because your values and what they're looking for are not aligned. So that is another mistake that I see a lot of people make, right? The other thing is, and I'm very transparent here, a lot of times, like funders, and that's why usually when you're applying for funds, right, they'll tell you, have you ever gotten a fund before? Have you do this? I've seen that once you get one grant, the likelihood of you go, and you must take it like a job. Apply, keep applying, right? Even the way you tell your story, even how you sort of align your story with what your grantor is looking for becomes more crisp, it becomes more concise. If a grantor says, I want 200 words, and then because you want to do for each section, and because you want to show that you know really what you're working on, you go and give them 500 words, and they will not choose you. I mean, there's no grammar you want to speak, right? You've already exceeded some of the criteria that they've given. And so it's very critical as well that you follow the criteria to the T, to the letter of what they're looking for, what they're asking for. Because sometimes they have a lot of great grants, right? And they're looking for subjective ways to sort of cut people off, right? And honestly, if you don't follow the criteria, that's one of the easiest ways for them to cut you off or to say, oh, this person's not going to meet the criteria. So I mentioned, making sure that you follow the criteria, making sure that you follow the word count, ensuring that, you align what your values critical, showing that you have an organization or a structure. You make sure that you are registered. And grants, a lot of times, especially the big organizations who want to give big money, right? They want to make sure that they're giving an entity that is going to do work, right? That they can really sort of leverage on. Those are the people that they're going to give the grants to. So again, make sure that you have a structure, you have an entity that is registered. Make sure that you have your financial statements. Sometimes they might not even worry about audited, but make sure you have a mechanism to show, as you're earning your own small money, how are you using it, right? Because that would be a foreshadowing of, if they give you the grant, how are you going to spend the money? Okay, and that is one of the biggest. And I cannot be very honest with us on this platform and say that, unfortunately, especially in Nigeria, in times past, we know so many people that their only game in town was to form NGO or whatever and be collecting grants, and that's how they live off their lives, right? And a lot of these funders, I think, have learned that a lot of times this is really the modus operandi of a lot of organizations. And so they become very strict, or a lot stricter, right, than what they used to do before. And that is why, you'll see that there's also like what's the word I'm looking for? A proliferation of a lot of programs, right, who are training people on how to use grants or how to use these funds. Because a fund, and unfortunately, these people end up being the gatekeepers of funding. Because before a funder comes now, a funder will say, oh, you know what, I don't want to maybe deal with individuals anymore. I would rather deal with an accelerator program or a program that, is dealing with people like this who give out funds than to deal with individuals. And they're trusting that that organization has already weeded out the bad eggs, and that anybody who's left that this organization would recommend has already gone through proper training so that they have the confidence to be able to give them their grants or there was a recent opportunity that we got. It had expired in December 2023. So these guys, they are very on top of their due diligence. They came back and they said, we can't move you forward until you give us an updated tax clearance. So I had to call my accountant and say, we pay taxes, tax clearance, and thankfully I thank God for my, accountant and everything. He was able to sort of run around and ensure that we got our updated tax clearance certificate through the end of 2024. That was what really, honestly, allowed us to be able to move forward with that opportunity. Can you imagine if, you know, an organization came and said, oh, you know, you need your tax clearance certificate and you never filed any taxes or anything? You're going to lose that opportunity. You're not going to be able to get that grant. So again, when people come and start lamenting and saying, oh, only a few, select few get the grants, it's really because you need to understand what the criteria is for the people, the grantors, right? And ensure that you have those things in place, right? And that when they ask you to submit, you know, sometimes people will say, oh, I don't have all this information. Maybe the due date for application is on the 31st of 31st of. I'm saying this one, I'm still talking to myself because our audited financial statements for last year, I'm still talking to my account, and I'm the one holding up the game, the process, right? But these are things that have helped us in times past, where when they say, oh, do you have XYZ? I can easily go up an eye and move forward in the process. So hopefully, I hope that helps and answers the question.
Oh, it answers the questions. In short, much more. It helps a lot. I hope you can hear me. Please permit me again. Network has been wonderful.
Yes, I can.
Fantastic. Okay, so for those who are just joining, I have a face. This is my face. So please, I'm switching off my video so it doesn't disrupt the call. Yes, we heard you loud and clear. And, you know, we can't overemphasize the importance of ensuring that you have, you know, you meet the criteria and you have all of these things in place. I like the fact that you mentioned that some of these grantors are actually getting more, they're getting stricter because they're getting wiser, right? And I'd like you to just touch a bit, because there's something I know that you do, and I'd like you to share as you talk about specifics of, I mean, within the limits that you're able to share, what has worked for your organization. But I know that there's something that you do, which is, you know, ensuring that you walk your grantors through your process, right? So, for example, you've benefited from a grant this year. What should be the ideal, even if that grantor isn't providing funds for you now, but they've provided in the past? What should you do to position yourself? I know you do that very well, so please share, so I don't take the words out of your mouth.
Yeah, so I mean, I think for us, and again, I want to be very clear as well, right? And say that, you know, I don't want anybody to feel like this is just something that I'm doing by myself. I have a phenomenal team that supports me, and some of them are on the call. Gabriel, Victor, Juliet, a whole bunch of other people that are part of the team that helps to sort of pull all some of this information together. It helps, definitely lifts a lot of burden off my back, right? But with regards to the question you just asked, right? Like I mentioned, it's not all the grants that we apply for that we get. I mean, in fact, we applied for, I probably got which, you know, one of them I was really so certain we were going to move forward, and that really hurt. But, you know, when I checked the feedback, they were like, oh, phenomenal, great feedback. And they said, please, you know, make sure you apply again next year. You know, part of the strength of an entrepreneur is resilience. So again, we look forward to sort of you applying again next, and I'm going to apply next year. I've had programs that I applied for the first time and I got a no. And because of that same resilience, where I said, okay, I'm going to apply again, and they must accept until I will keep applying until they say no. I got into like a few programs where I probably wouldn't have had a chance. So again, just wanted to sort of give that word that, again, even if they say no the first time and you really, really want that grant, please continue to apply. But again, going back to the question you asked, right? A lot of grantors also are looking for people that have traction. And when I say traction, they're looking for people who are doing the work that they are very passionate, or that their values and their money is aligned to, right? Like, for example, everybody's talking about ESG now, you know, environment, social, and governance, right? Right. So if you can position yourself to say, look, where, and you know, for changing the in-house means to change dirt or to transform waste, right? That was sort of like our name. But when I introduce myself, or I introduce Change Dirty, I will say that we are, you know, we're focused on the 4 Ps, right? Or 3 Ps plus 1. It's people, it's planet, profit, and partnerships. And then I start to explain to them, from a people's perspective, we care about empowerment of people. We want to create jobs, income generation. From a planet perspective, you know, we're mopping up waste in the environment. So for me, anybody that cares about like CO2 emissions, greenhouse gas emissions, what recycling, ocean plastic pollution, climate related issues, the ears will perk up, because again, I'm saying exactly, or circular economy or things like that. I'm speaking their language, right? And so again, whatever you're saying, you need to sort of align to whoever you're sort of talking to. I talk about profit, right? Because a lot of times, right, organizations want to know that you're not going to, and they even have some what's the word? They also have some criteria around what you can even use your grants for. So they don't want you to get the grant and then start using it to jolly buy a car for yourself, enjoy, marry 2 wives. None of those things, right? They want you to make sure that you're using the grants to further or help grow your business. Showing them that, this is a business that even on its own without the grants, our profits might not be stupendous, but we're still earning some money, right? And we're going concern. And then partnerships, right? The fact that we're, again, using even this application as a way to sort of enhance, our partnership landscape, and the fact that no one is an island, so we all need each other. So by the time I sort of break out those 4 P's, right, and I'm able to sort of link that, it definitely helps a long way. I will also say the social media is very critical. I'm old school, very old school. I'm not going to say my age, but I'm definitely closer to 50 than I am to 40. You know what I mean? So when I say I'm old school, and we're doing all this great work, but we're not putting on social media. And people are like, you're doing all this great work, but we don't know what like. As much as possible, please, let's make sure that we put it online so that people can at least see what we're doing, right? Because I promise you that, usually when grantors are, for anybody who's filled out any form, right, one of the key questions they ask you is provide your social media links, right? I'm sure you've all seen it. They'll say provide your LinkedIn or your Facebook or your whatever, because they want to see how many followers you have. They want to make sure that you're not going to be a liability, that you've not abused the president of America. It's an American one. They're going to use your social media to sort of check you and say, oh, is this person really doing the work that they're saying, recycling? And there's no inkling. Maybe our LinkedIn page or our Facebook or our Instagram, we've not even opened it since 2020, for example. They'll say, this person is not serious, or something on funding that we hope to get, right? The mileage we hope to get, we're not going to be able to get because this person is not. And social media is the global landscape that people can read. And say, even some of our initiatives, Bottles for Books, you will see us is collecting waste to support children to go to school. Women Recyclers Economic Initiative was empowering women, but again, is around waste that you are actually able to walk the talk, and that you really have traction in that space. So they'll tell you what are your KPIs, right? What are those key performance to what they internally are looking to support or to fund. So I think with those things, right, we've been able to, like I said, position ourselves. We definitely, and it is intentional. We were trying to do a lot more, but again, to continue to tell the story of what we're doing and how we're so hopefully that helps.
It helps. Thank you so much, FUNTO. This is the answer, man. I don't know what else to say. I've been kicked out twice. It's wonderful. I mean, I trust that we would thank you so much for everyone who has stayed. I know that you've been getting value. Please, if you have, let's see your reactions. Please, if you don't mind, please turn off your videos, because we're trying to ensure that the network is working for us. That's why I even have my video turned off, except our host, our guests. Funto, it's okay, you can put on your video, but please, participants, if you don't mind, please turn off your videos. Thank you, Ruby. Fantastic. I mean, if you're getting value, thank you, Fayo. I see your comments. I know that you asked for our social media handles. I am sure that admin is seeing to that right away, both for Chanja Dati as well as for Green Hill, so that you can continue to follow our work. Thank you. Thank you. We see your comments. Thank you. That's the idea. Okay, so you touched on something when you were explaining about not using the money to buy a car, or married to wives. How do we stress it enough to business owners that you don't use your business page to comment on things that are unrelated to your business? Like, how do you see people, you see a random post on social media about, I mean, what example can I use now? The recent wedding in town, right? Of Lagbaja and Folashade. And you see people using their business pages, handles, to make comments. Please, how critical is that, to the conversation that we're having today? Because some people think it doesn't matter. If you can just shed a little light on that before we move on to the next question. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mariam. I think it is so critical. And again, I'm not one to, I'm all for freedom of speech and freedom of expression. So please don't feel like I'm here to say don't be your most authentic self. And maybe this again also has something to do with, like I said, I'm very old school. So rarely do you see me, commenting on personal stuff on business platforms, or there has to be like a clear line. There has to be like a clear distinction, right? I've had lots of you, whatever, and it was because of a post on their social media handle. I heard stories of people applying for visas and not getting visas because of something they said, and now, even if you think that, it's only you and your inner caucus that are seeing stuff, unfortunately, the way things are now, you never know how people can track stuff, who's seeing what, whether big Uncle Sam or whoever in America is looking, you never really know. So I for me personally, I would say, less is more. Restraint is better than being overexposed. And I'm telling you, when you are applying for stuff and they start asking you for your social media handles, no, it's not because they want to become your best friend or they want to add you. They are going to do searches on you to see the kind of person you are, so that you don't become a liability for them. Understand that and know peace, right? So please, if you are doing that and you're using your professional pages to comment on personal stuff or things that don't have anything to do with business, I would encourage you to maybe stop right away. And change course. And then the other thing that, a lot of people, you talked about funding and things like that. I always tell people, one of the earliest things that we did at Chanja Dati, and still serves me today, is that I immediately registered, and that's why you need to register, because I immediately registered a business, I registered a corporate account. There's no way that business money can be entering your Mrs. Lagbaja's account. Like sometimes when you need that sharp 2,000, that you not touch your business money. There's no way. It's just human nature. So once that money is going into and you're commingling your funds, the day they say bring financial statement or bank statement to show proof that the funds we gave you, you used it for business, and then they see, 2,000, you you saw that you'll be able to sort of give funding to that person. So I would encourage everybody that please, right? If you don't have it today, you've not done it today, go and set up a separate account for your business and put only the money that you need and the transaction that go into that, I can't say it enough, do not commingle funds. It can only lead to heartache and problems, right? And on your social media handles, please, 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 do not, I can't say it enough, do not put personal stuff on your professional handle. The day you want to Japa, you want to go to Canada, maybe you've already abused what's his name, their prime minister, what's his name now, or whatever. You will not understand why. You'll be thinking it's people in your village that are chasing you. You won't understand or whatnot. So again, I can't stress it enough. Please, please, please.
Thank you, Funto. Can you hear me?
Mariam, I don't know if you're still.
Confirm if you can hear me. I'm here.
Okay, but
I'm here. I'm right here. No, I'm not. I'm here. I can see myself talking.
So I can hear you. I can hear you. Now you're muted. I can hear you.
Okay, fantastic.
I said Ruby had her hand raised for a while. I don't know if
yes,
we can take a question.
She can actually type it if you don't mind.
Oh, okay, type.
Okay, Ruby, can you drop the question in the chat, please? Hi, Funto, can you hear me?
Thank you.
I can hear you, Mariam, yes.
Oh, okay. Did she ask a question already? Because I didn't hear anything.
Thumbs up, yes, I can hear you.
I was asking her to drop it in the chat.
No, she's dropping it in the... Yeah, she's dropping it in the chat box.
Okay, fantastic. Admin, please see to sharing the links, Chanja.is as well, websites and LinkedIn, so people can follow and learn more about the work. Thank you. You've shared so much with us. So I would just ask you, you've highlighted, where people can get information from, the basics that they can, just do to ensure that they're kept abreast of some of these opportunities, because they do exist, right? And due diligence, just understanding what is required in terms of word count, in terms of just following strictly to the instructions, trying to be succinct. Over time, I've seen that grantors are less and less. They don't want big grammar. It was in the past, they would tell you 1,500 words, 2,000 words. Now they're not interested in all that, because you see one opportunity and there are about 3,000, 5,000 people chasing after that single opportunity. So as much as possible, they don't want a lot of stories, they want you to be able to communicate as clearly as possible, which brings us to the question around storytelling. How can people tell their stories in the most succinct way that also, projects their work? It doesn't water down what they do, right? In a way that they're clear, but they're precise, not too much grammar. How can people do that?
Right, is to really go back to what the grantor is looking for. I always tell my team, I try and do this as well, that when we're responding or we're applying for grants, I speak the same language. Actually, sometimes we intentionally use the same words that the grantor has used in their RFP or whatever, request for proposal or request for grant application, back to them, so that they don't have to think. We're making it simple for them to say, okay, this person is really aligned to what we're looking for, because they've used the same word. So for example, if a grantor is saying, we're looking for waste recyclers who have done cleared plastic bottles, when we are responding, we'll say, Chanja is a waste recycling company that clears plastic bottles from. We use the exact same word, so that they don't have to overthink, you understand, and start to try. And again, sometimes in our bid to use big words or over type or overwrite, we go out of spec in what we're saying. But if you're trying to keep it as succinct as possible, use their own words back to them, so that anybody who's reviewing it knows that, okay, this person, has not only read our requirements, but what they're doing sort of aligns exactly with our requirements. The other thing I would say is that you know, the more you do, you apply for grants and for funding, the more your story becomes very succinct, right? And you need to just be very brutal about how you slash words. You know, sometimes when, you know, I've had instances, and my team can share this, we've had instances where maybe they say, and it turns out, again, like I mentioned earlier, that wording might be if you go over the wording, it might be the thing that, you know, gets you kicked out. But even outside of that, it's to ensure many big words, right? And we need to sort of, you know, make it smaller. We need to skin it down. It really forces you to sort of skinny down your information and keep it as crisp as possible, right? And so you need to keep on. And that, the other hack that I would tell everybody is, you know, in my early days, I remember I would apply for things that I knew without a shadow of a doubt I didn't have any chance in. Before. So by the time you go through that rhythm of applying and you see the word count, you see what they're looking to answer the question the way they're thinking, and it forces you to, you know, adapt that around. When I first at least apply, even if we don't, they're not looking for me today. Maybe next year is me that they're going to be looking for, right? And I'm already in their database. So again, just another sort of quick hack that I think will be helpful. But again, at the end of the day, make sure that you're speaking back the words of the grantors, whatever they've put in their reason. Hopefully that helps. And I don't have a problem. I was saying that I don't have a problem with staying till after 9 because of the internet issues. If people want to stay on and ask questions, because I really want to see if we can answer some of the questions that people have. So yes. I'm very flexible for you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sis. Thank you, Funto. Yes, we will. We might have to extend, especially when it gets so hot and so sweet. We would have to extend. I see BM's hand up. Please put your question in the chat. We would attend to the questions, but please just put it. Try to type it out in the chat. Thank you so much. I heard you loud and clear, and I just wanted to add this very important part as well. Letting your grantors understand or taking them along your journey. I think that's the best way to put it. So the fact that they've given you a grant, you know, this year doesn't stop you from letting them, as you show traction, like Funto rightly said, as you grow, as you expand, as you scale, there's nothing wrong in letting them, you know, share your success stories with them and just let them know, oh, it might not be the grant that they gave to you at the moment, you know, that has helped you achieve that.
Even though you're working on a project or whatever. The other thing that I've also tried to do is not only grantors, but even programs that have been in. Sometimes they'll come back with an ask, right? Or we need help with XYZ or whatever. And I always say yes, because there's no way to actually, grantors really, as you saw, grow in this relationship, in this, even in this ecosystem that we're in, right? It's for them to really know you want to. We're about to do a program and we need somebody to help us look through a list of new candidates. Can you look through 10 or with whatever? And I always raise up my hand, or they'll say, oh, we want to do a master class, right? And I always raise up my hand. And then a while back, there was an opportunity that came up where they just sent me an email and said, oh, Funto, this opportunity came our way. You know, they're looking for people who we think you fit exactly into what they're looking for. Please apply. And we'll be the organization that sort of puts your name forward. And I have to stand, Jose, and be a panelist in front of people from Silicon Valley and everything. But I was able to get into the program. We got a USADF grant of $25,000. Not a lot in this day and age, but now we're on the radar of USADF. I'm just saying, so one thing leads to the other, right? And so make sure that you mind your network, make sure that you give back. I can't say it enough. I always give back, I always give back, I always give back. And because I've told you now that a lot of times, any program that you're in, right, usually serve as gatekeepers, right? They're the ones that are saying this person has been through our program. If you have the opportunity of applying or being accepted or participating in any program, please ensure that you give back. Give back when they need help. Don't just be see and take. Make sure that you give back of your time, your energy, your knowledge, and it will serve you well, because those are the people that will recommend you for those funds that you're looking for. I don't know if Mariam is back
I'm right here.
or not, but
I'm right here. Thank you.
Okay,
I'm right here, sis. Thank you for holding forth for me. I mean, I couldn't have chosen a better guest for today's for today's webinar with this network. No. Thank you. Okay, so to respond to Ruby's question, can you hear me clearly? Okay, to respond to Ruby's question, she says, in the case where a grant opportunity requires gender, citizenship or age, right? As a founder, can we utilize an able staff or colleague as an applicant instead of myself? Yes, of course. Please, can you respond to that question? She says, where a grant opportunity requires gender, citizenship, or age, and she's the founder, can she utilize a staff that is able or a colleague? I want to believe that colleague is within your, I mean, when you say colleague, you mean your staff, right? Can she use either her staff or her colleague as an applicant instead of herself? Please, are you able to respond to that?
Restriction, you might even send a message and say, look, I know that this is what you're looking for, but this is I'm making a case. When it comes to citizenship, again, if you have people within your organization that fits the bill, I would say, again, be very clear, because the last thing I want to do is to say send us your CSC registration to confirm that you are really the owner of the company and all that, right? So if it's that case, then you might not be able to apply, and that might have to be an opportunity that you have to just walk away from.
Thank you so much, FUNTO. I hope that helps to the person who asked the question. Please let us know in the chats if you're okay. Thank you, Ruby. Okay, so Fire is asking, how do you attract and motivate the right quality staff to work on your grant applications? I mean, you've been very clear about the fact that you have, a reliable team that takes a lot off your back, because I mean, you do a lot, right? So she's asking what did you do? How did you attract these guys to work on your grants, and how do you motivate them?
The name of the grantor, the web link, due dates and requirements, right? And then did we submit? Did we get the grant? Yes. No. Is it rolling or is it one time? So that we can sort of keep it on our radar, right? Nothing fancy. But one of the ways that when I started out, a lot of people. We had a team of probably there were 9 people in the team that worked on. It wasn't just the grants, but it was a whole 18-month process leading up to the grant, right? And leading up to the submission of the grant. And honestly, one of the things that I if we got the grants, they were going to get a sizable amount of money. And I think I'm not seeing anything out of some of my staff members on here. And I think maybe at the end of the day, maybe so because I know that look, these guys, especially with the knowledge they're getting and everything, they're going to be very sought after, and they're definitely adding value. to my organization. So I want to make sure that I keep them around. I don't want any of them to japa. So the team and get funding, you will get you get something out of it. So your salary might not be on that. Not only motivate but keep my team around. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Fayo. I hope that answers your question. Thanks so much. Okay. Yes, absolutely. If you give more, you get more, and I think that's beautiful enough motivation for them to put in their best. They're building themselves, building their capacity as they get exposed to these opportunities. But in addition to that, they're also, getting some form of remuneration outside of their salaries. And I think that's just amazing and motivation enough for people to do more. BM had a question. I don't know if he or she has put it in the chat. I don't see it yet here. Thank you. Someone says, how do you present impacts during proposal writing? So I guess you said something about doing so much work, such great work, and not being able to communicate it clearly, and how important social media is the tool that we can use. So this person wants to understand how they can present impact, when they're writing grants. How do you do that?
I think, again, the grantors will tell you what they're looking for. Easy. So if a grantor comes and says, like Coca-Cola Foundation, for example, theirs is world without waste, right? So they're very clear that they want, a world without waste. And, they care about plastic pollution. So one of the key KPIs that you should be tracking and you should be communicating to them is how many kilograms, or how many tons of plastic waste have you mopped up from the environment, right? That should be a standard. Some people care about jobs that you've created, right? How many women do you have in your establishment? How many women jobs have you created? How many, if we give you this grant, how many potential jobs can you create, right? How much income can you generate with education? How many children can you send to school if we give you this money? How many, those are some. So the grantor will really tell you what the KPIs are that they really care about. And that's why I said you need to make sure that you align your answer and your KPIs. And first of all, you need to ensure that you're applying to organizations or to grantors, that your work aligns together, so that when you're answering those questions, you're not lying or making up stuff, right? But if there's a right fit, your KPI should align with what those grantors are looking for. Easy. And then the other thing I would say is that you should not, because again, if it's any grant or what they saw, they want to come and in whatever, for example, and we're doing 5 tons every week and whatever, they might come and say, okay, we're going to send inspectors to come and check whether or not you're doing the work. You really have 5 locations. They might come, depending on the size of the grants that they give you, right? If they come and something happen, they don't want to hear that, right? It means that you've either not represented yourself correctly. And so truth, line, you can tell the truth and you can really showcase and highlight the work you're doing. It is so critical. It is so critical. You won't ever see me now saying that we're doing solar panels, and that no, because I don't do solar panels. I can only talk about recyclable waste that we collect. I can talk about jobs we're generating, that we're supporting women in the recycling space. I can talk about homes, trash, because even children were supporting to go to school only because their parents or organizations are supporting them with their waste that we're converting into money. So that's the linkage, right? Or we have another thing called Waste for Justice, where we're supporting people in the prison to decongest prison. But the way we're doing it is we're collecting waste and converting that waste into money, and then we're using it as a social tool to help people in the prison. So again, there's a direct linkage. So even if it's waste, recyclable waste, kilograms of waste that we always come back to, right? So we're not lying, we're not. And then, like I said, the other thing I wanted to quickly mention was that even if you have to use your phone, I want to encourage everybody the call to start to document like video. You can take pictures real time of the work you're doing. I think sometimes that really you need to know about this is what we do and everything. So I think that is also very critical that people need to start video and on in pictures the work that they're doing and again sharing to your social media.
Thank you, Funto.
Thank you, Fire. Yes, the picture is worth 1,000 words. Exactly.
Yeah, thank you, Fire. Absolutely.
So,
thank you, Funto. I mean, despite the epileptic network, we're still almost 30 on the score. It shows that you're getting value. I would like you to, we'll drop a link in the chat now to this post, the post to this webinar. Please drop there in the comment section whatever value you've gotten from this webinar, because I know you have gotten, something. Some people would ask you to pay for such webinar because some of the nuggets shared here today are not things you would perhaps read on the desktop, right? It's from experience. So please, we'll share a link in the chat. Please click on it. Just 2 or 3 minutes of your time and just drop a comment. How much value you've gotten, or what you've learned, what new insights you've gained, or what has.
When I talked earlier about not commingling funds, there's some organizations that they will say they need a letter of reference from your bank, before they give you that grant. And some of them, like when we got the USADF grant, I had to do I had to get a sub account with the USADF name, USADF grants on that sub account in one of my banks, and I had to get a letter from the bank to show that, okay, we've created a separate account. And because they're very strict, they don't want you to commingle funds. They don't want level of scrutiny that and level of requirement that those organizations will ask for. Be ready to expose your business. The other thing I was mentioning earlier on was that we've done work with some FMCGs that are, again, multinationals or international organizations. Be ready to have auditors come in and check your books. Sometimes they'll say, "Oh, you said you sold 200 tons a month. Oh yeah, show us in your bank statement that you've actually paid people up to 200. Show us, with receipts and everything." And we share that because that's what they're asking for, right? That builds a level of, again, trust and a lot of level of confidence and integrity. But when they come to you and you be telling, "Oh, I do 200 tons a month," and then they come and say, "Okay, show us either through your money, the movement of your cash in your bank statement, 200 tons worth of materials," right? Because they'll have an idea, and they only see maybe 5 tons. I mean, they will not use you. You will not get the grant. They will not get the funding. But best believe that before you can reestablish your credibility with them and with other people in that space, because they all talk and say, that company, their 419 is there, and that's the reputation that will be stuck on you, right? And you don't want that. So again, I can't say it enough. Please be on the up and up when you're applying for grants as much as you can. Declare the truth and nothing but the truth. If you see that what the grantors are asking does not align with what you can offer, walk away, because there will be other opportunities that will come your way that you will be a good fit for, a good fit for, and that you can apply for and hopefully get. Mariam, you're back. Please go ahead.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you for your patience and for holding forth. Like I said, I couldn't have chosen a better guest. I see that the network is even kicking people in and out. I hope that we've attended to all the questions that were in the chat. I missed out on 1 or 2. And I hope that you heard me when I said to please drop a comment on our social media handle, our LinkedIn page, Funto and I. If you've gotten any value from this session, I know you've gotten a lot. Let us know what stood out for you, what you learned, what new insights you've gained, and perhaps what action you would take going forward. value overload. Thank you. Please don't drop the comment here. Drop it on the link. Admin, please drop the link and let people go on board. So you said something about somebody asked a question around sector specific grants, right? And the person wanted to know if working in as a consultant, for example, if they have a consulting service, would they be, positioned to get grants? What sort of businesses? I know that you and I are focused on in a certain sector, but from experience and from these opportunities that we see, being shared, what are some of the sectors that you think grantors are mostly focused on now? It changes, right? It changes a lot. But what are the areas that you think that, grantors are looking at the most now? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, there's some grantors that are sector agnostic, but they will still have a thematic area. So they might focus on women, or they might focus on the girl child, or they might focus on prisoners or whatever, right? So they don't really care about what sector that work is being done, but they care about sort of like those thematic areas. So that's one way to look at it. But the real cool, or not cool, the real sectors that I think are getting a lot of attention now, really, if you go back to the SDGs, right? SDGs, anything in the SDG space is getting a lot of attention. For me and Mariam and a lot of you on the space on this platform now, that might be waste recycling, right? So again, everybody's talking about climate action, everybody's talking about CO2 emissions, greenhouse gas emissions, all that. Circular economy is big now. People are talking about circularity. How do we preserve our reserves of materials? So moving from the shift from linear to circular economy is big now. Agric is big now because food security, everybody's talking about food security. How do we secure our food sources? So that's big right now. How do we make sure that people don't starve? If you're in the water space, water is also one of those areas that people are talking about. How, if you can't drink water, or we don't have good source of water, more than the half of the world population might end up dying. So again, that's also something that a lot of people are really focusing on right now. And then from a tech perspective, AI is hot now. So if you're doing anything, you can just find a way to say, I'm doing AI, whatever, and you're looking for funding or grants or whatever, and you apply, you might get it, even if you don't. But again, make sure that you're doing AI work. Don't just put AI because that's what's hot right now. But like 2 years ago, what was hot was blockchain and everything. Right now it's AI. I can't tell you exactly what the trend is in the next maybe year or two. It might still be AI, who knows? But I know that most people that are getting funds right now, there's a lot of focus, all this Google startup, anything in the tech space. If you add AI to it, the likelihood of you getting some form of funding or investment is probably very high. Again, I haven't been able to make that pure linkage. So I'm not going to, until I can see the work and I see how, we can really tell that story. It's not something that I would put in my applications just to get money. What else? I talked about agric. I've talked about climate related stuff. Talked about, climate and renewable energy. That's, really hot. And then, women, anything to do with women now is also really big. And the reason is because, especially when it comes to grants and to funding, the reason is because, and I think this is a word for all the women that are on the call, right? This is our time now because people have realized that for the last, how many decades, right? Women have gotten the short end of the stick when it comes to funding, right? And even now, I mean, when you look at the statistics, I think of all the funding, investments, and everything that is out there, women get maybe between 2 to 4% of funding. The remaining go to men. So there's now a concerted effort to ensure that women are supported in a way that makes sense, right? So guys, when you start seeing women getting funding, please don't be jealous. You guys have had decades and decades and decades and decades and decades and decades of support, right, with your business, even up till now. But it's just that people are trying to sort of balance that equation, right? And see what is to make it more equitable, if that makes sense. So I would say women, please ensure that you're looking for women-specific support. That will come in handy. Men, if you have wives or daughters or whoever in your inner circle that is really also passionate about the work you're doing and can become a co-founder with you, I would say by all means leverage that. That's very strategic. So leverage them. I think Ruby mentioned nutrition. Okay, that's not really my space, but nutrition, because children need to be able to, and people need to be able to not only eat, but make sure that they don't starve. Education and climate, yes. education is also big, right? Because again, the population we have right now, it's not just education of go to primary school or secondary school, but even things like distance learning. How do we learn in a space where people are more global? How do we use technology to sort of teach more people? Those are things that a lot of people are talking about now. But again, you have to, especially if you're applying for grants, please, I can't stress it enough. And someone is looking for nutrition startups or organizations, and you go and apply, unless you can categorically make the linkage, they will not give it to you. And it's not because they don't like you. That's not what they're looking for. You're not what they're looking for. So just please just know that. And then the other thing I wanted to say as well, as I look at the time, and I know we're probably going to be rounding up real soon, is that if you get a no, when you apply for a grant and you get a no, please don't take it personally. It doesn't mean that you're not good enough. It doesn't mean that they hate you. It doesn't mean that you wrote rubbish. It doesn't mean that you are not doing the right thing. It just might mean that there were other people that maybe spoke the English that they were looking for at that point in time. But this is where the resiliency kicks in, right? You need to apply again. If this is really what you want, and that grant is not a one-time thing, but it's an ongoing thing, keep on applying until they give it to you. If I get to the point where they'll say, this person has come again, we need to give this person this grant because it shows that they're persistent, they're resilient, they're this, they're that. And even as if you apply this year and you don't get it, by the time you apply next year, you would even have a more robust story. You would have more traction. You would have hopefully grown, for them to be able to say, even though this person didn't get the grant from us last year, we can see like they've grown within that year, right? And this is something that's worthy of us giving our grants, because we know that if we give them the grants, it can then turbocharge what they're going to do. So again, please don't give up. Don't take it personally. Keep on building, keep on doing the work, keep on, showing traction, keep on creating impact in your community, right? And, the funding will look for you. Oh, and then the other thing I wanted to mention, the final thing I wanted to mention is that please, as you're running your businesses, right? If a grantor feels like your business is not going to run if you don't get the grant, the likelihood of you getting, and I mentioned this earlier, is probably not going to be high. So you need to be running your business and to show that you are a going concern. You need to run it like a business. You can't run it like just an NGO. You need to run it like a business, right? Like this is a going concern. This is something that whether we get the grant or not, we will get money. We will make money, or we'll continue to do the work. But if a grantor thinks that, if these people, if we give them this money, or if we don't give them this money, this thing will shut down, they might not give you the money because it's very dependent on them as an organization, and they want sustainable entities, right? So anything you're doing has to also have a sustainability component to it. So as you're, it's going to be one of the questions that they will ask you, if once our grant stops, how are you going to sustain the momentum of what you're doing? And you need to be able to show them that, right? You need to be able to really show them that even when the money stops, that we'll be able to continue this program, right? So that has to be part of your story that you're telling and that you're showing them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Ruby said, I have won a grant before. By all means, yes.
Yes.
You should be building relationships with your grantors, right? By all means, yes. But don't write them and say, I need more money, and then you're not showing them traction. You should be able to show them, I got X amount from you. This is what we've done. We use this to do X, Y, Z. We've grown 10%. If you give us an additional funding of X amount, we think we can grow another 10 or 15% or 20%. So please support us. Or if you cannot support us right now because you don't have the funding, can you direct us to other co-grantors like yourself who you have a good relationship with, who might be able to support us at this point in time? But by all means, yes. Go back. Be like Oliver Twist and keep asking for more, but within reason and with good work. Yeah, but yes.
Thank you, Funto. And that's why I can't remember if through an email only or how. I can't remember if, I don't know that the network did not kick me out when I was making the point about holding your grantors through your journey, by sharing with them the impact that their grant has made in your business at a time, and how that has helped you evolve to where you're currently at. It's very critical. You see, the beautiful thing that sometimes we miss is the fact that grantors also want to look good. If you've ever seen it happen when a grantor gives you some money, and perhaps you're able to even get something bigger, they would share your story. They're very excited to share your story because they feel as though, they helped you launch onto that stage that you're at, and the fact that they're part of that success story also makes them look good, so when you're able to show traction, you're able to show that you're actually growing, they're excited to do more. They actually, because it puts them in a good place, they're able to say, see this person and that person, you wonder why certain people are continuously beckoned on. For example, I know of an organization here in Lagos where if they have any, big foreign investors or their organizations in the Netherlands coming to visit, they would handpick certain entrepreneurs. You can be sure that you will see the same set of people there, every year, because they want to showcase people who are doing well. They want to showcase people who they've given grants to and can, tell good stories. Even if it wasn't their grants that got you, that, you understand what I'm trying to say? Even if they're giving you a grant like 2-3 years ago, they will still call on you to showcase you. So yes, by all means, Ruby, you can send them an email. You can share your story with them. You can, tag them to your posts. We talked about sharing your story on social media, how important it is. Keep tagging them. Bring them into your space. Let it be in their faces that, oh, see the work we're doing, see where we're at now. And if you have to send an email, by all means, market yourself unashamedly. People are marketing themselves these days and they're not ashamed to do so. You can't be quiet. For the longest time, I think we're very about the work that we did. Like Funto said, you're doing such great work and you're not sharing it. And when people get into your space, they'll be like, oh my God, you mean you're doing this and that, and they don't know. So yes, you can send them emails, even cold mails, if you have to, you can send them emails and, but make sure you're taking them through that journey, even through social media. Okay, I see a question. It's a direct question. I'll respond to it shortly. I hope that people have dropped their comments. It will not be nice. So we talked about giving back, right? You've gotten so much from this. Please just click on that link. It won't take you a minute or two. Give back. Tell us what you learned. Let people who did not join this webinar, let it prepare them. Those kind of comments that you drop that will prepare them. Let people know what value you've gotten from this webinar, what new insights you've learned, and what you will do going forward. So finally, oh wow, Funto, you've just been an amazing sister. God bless and honor you. It's almost 10 o'clock. I mean, we've gone over and beyond, but final words. I would like you to share with us what you think would be what will break a grant. We've talked about, how you don't keep, maybe not following instructions and all that. Sometimes waiting till the last minute. God, I can remember applying to something and my entire body was shaking. I was like, what? After all the time, you mean I want to lose this because of that? Procrastination is such a killer. Don't wait till the end. Sometimes it might just be somebody who submitted before you that made all the difference. Honestly, it might just be that they got to that mark and that's it. I'm guilty of it too. I mean, I confess, but but as your final words, what would really make or break a grant? What do you think is that thing that when you do it, just forget about it? There's no chance in the world that you would get that grant. Is there anything like that? And if there is, what is it?
Not applying at all, Mariam. I'll keep it short. If you don't apply, you won't get it, period. So I would say apply, apply, and sometimes, this is the other thing, right? I would even say, even if you feel like you are, because you never know how many people end up applying for grants. Sometimes you think maybe the whole world has applied and you might not have enough people, you understand? So even with your not as complete application as you think and you're kicking yourself, I would say a lot of times apply, submit within the time frame that they've asked you to submit. To your point, there have been days or times where we've tried to apply, we procrastinated quite a bit, and maybe we didn't submit on time, which we kicked ourselves about. It has happened a lot of times. And this is why it's also, when you want to apply for a grant, do your research well about the grant, right? Because sometimes it might say, do video, and then you now start trying to do video at the last minute, or get video from one of your clients or, partners or whatever. And, by the time you handhold those people to give you the video and everything, time has gone. So again, you need to plan with timing as well when you're applying for some of these grants. So the first thing you do is to read the requirements and understand fully well what it is that they're asking for. But again, Mariam, to answer your question, apply, regardless, still apply. You have a chance of even being considered if you don't even apply. So the first thing I would say is just make sure that you apply.
Thank you so much. You know, the one thing that speaks out so loudly in all of this webinar is that this process of getting grants, there is a strategy to it. It's a process. It's like going to school, you know. It's like a paid job. I think someone dropped it in the comments earlier. It's like a paid job, you know. The more you do it, the better at it you become. It's like going to school. The more you learn, the more you get exposed, you know, the better your understanding. So for everyone you see today who is, you know, sharing, oh, I've raised over 1 M USD, 1 M pounds. There were several no's that they got. There were several, if you went back to some of the grants you applied to at the beginning of your journey, you'd be like, what? I wrote this? As in, even you would not give yourself that money if you know, so you just get better and better and better at it. So please don't get discouraged. Don't get into that rut where you feel, oh, it's a lie. There are certain people they choose. That was really the aim of this, to debunk that idea that, oh, there are certain people who get grants and others just would never get grants and they don't bother. I've heard people say those kinds of things. It's you people now, and they never bother. And they're doing such great work, but they don't feel the need to share the work that you're doing because they just have this impression that they would never get the grant. So I hope that nobody is leaving this webinar thinking that way. Please drop in the chat box what other topics you would want us to talk about next. If there's any specific area of business that you want us to talk about, especially if you're within the space of recycling, circular economy, sustainability, please drop it in the chat box what you would like to hear in our next webinar. That we listen to the feedback that you give to us, and that informs the guests that we bring on board. I hope again for the final time that people have dropped comments on the flyer on social media, especially on LinkedIn. Let's know what value you got from the webinar. If you can, please turn on your videos. I see that network has been great. Can you imagine now that we're at the end of the meeting? Good. But if you can, please turn on your videos so we can take a nice photo. Madam Fayo, I want to see your face. Please, this picture will not be taken if your video is not on. Please turn on your video. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for being here and for
Thank you so much.
We hope you learned something. For those of us who are camera ready, please turn on your videos. Let's take a nice photo. Oh, wow, it's dark in some places, but it's okay. We can still see your face. Thank you, Funto. We can't thank you enough. Admin, are you ready?
My pleasure.
Let's see. Admin, are you ready? Oh, Edith, I see your glasses. I don't see you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, Mr. Sheung, thank you for being here. Dr. Sheung. This is one person that deserves an award. From our first debut, every webinar, he's there and he stays till the end. Can we clap for Dr. Sheung? And very soon, I'm sure he will give back all the knowledge that he has been getting from these free webinars. I'm very certain. Thumbs up to all 19 of you that stayed. That stayed till the end. Thank you so much. You deserve an applause. Please clap for yourselves. Clap for yourselves. You deserve an applause. Thank you so much. Yes, unmute and clap. Because some people got kicked out repeatedly and they got back. And I am so glad that you got so much value. We want to thank our guests.
I want to give a quick shout out, Mariam, to Adejo and Udoka, some of my staff members who are also hanging in there.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Adejo and Udoka. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting my friend.
And Hamza, I didn't see Hamza. And Hamza as well.
And Hamza, thank you so much.
Hamza is our plant manager.
She speaks very highly of you guys.
And I see Michael from Ado Ekiti.
Yeah.
Michael from Adwekiti as well.
Well done. Everyone.
Thank you guys. Thank you for coming out. Hopefully this was useful.
Absolutely.